Good morning, guys. Today is Thursday, and that means show and tell. And today, I'm very excited to do the show and tell because I think it'll be very helpful. And for myself, I'm really big on giving hostess gifts. When I go over to anyone's house, even if it's just for a little like chat or whatever, I always bring something with me. And it doesn't matter if it's my grandmother's house or my best friend's house. So, um, you know, it can be very inexpensive and handmade, which, in my opinion, if the person isn't a complete douchebag, excuse my fantastic terminology, but they'll appreciate it, and they'll appreciate it a heck of a lot more than a store-bought item that would have cost you probably an arm and a leg, considering what it is. So, some ideas as far as things that you can make. I just want to start off by saying that I tend to try and personalize it as much as I can. Oftentimes, I will think about the person's likes and interests. Also, how many people are in the household, if it's a family, or if there's a lot of young children, or if they're an older couple with no children. Try and essentially make something that can be either shared amongst the group of them, or bring something that's maybe like a basket that's got a few things that each person can enjoy. And that way you're not only focusing on the person that does the most cooking, for example, or a lot of people tend to focus on the woman in the house because she is usually the one that does most of the preparation and work as far as having people over goes. But you'd be surprised at how many men partake in the cooking, especially if it's barbecuing. Men love to handle the grill, so they do play a big role in having you over. And if at the very least they have to deal with the stress of their wives or girlfriends being frantic over the whole situation, so it's always nice to include them in the hostess gift. So, with that said, um, you can always do something that is edible. Edible is always, in my opinion, the way to go, because that way you can share it, and that way it can also be served as a dessert or as an appetizer, let's say, depending on what you make. One thing that I love to do that I've showed previously is the apple pie in a jar, because it's so versatile and you can play around with it depending on the ingredients that you have in your house and depending on what the tastes and likes and stuff are of the person that you're going to see. So you could do it with apples. You could also do it with pears. You could do it with mixed fruit. I've done one where I made more like a berry crumble, and I just used mixed berries. I've also done bath-inspired type things like bath salts or body scrubs. I've made lotion before. And all I've done in the past, people think that I tend to make it from scratch, and although I have, sometimes I have just kind of cut a corner because I'm in a tight squeeze for time, and I'll go and buy some generic unscented hand lotion, and I will personalize it. I'll either add some minerals to it, or I will add some cocoa butter or shea butter, or some essential oils, and I'll kind of personalize it to what that person enjoys. You can make little um, placeholders, like a set of placeholders for them, very inexpensively. You can go to the dollar store and grab little rocks even, and glue odds and ends to them. I mean, essentially, I don't want to make this a long video, and I mean, I could go on and on for days about the things that you can make or do or whatever. So what I'll leave for you as tips, I guess, is that don't limit yourself. See what you have in your household. That's the number one thing I think that I would suggest, is reuse items or repurpose items that you already have in your house to make hostess gifts out of. Um, Even baking cookies and putting them in a nice little tin is always a great go-to idea if you're a good baker. And sometimes even just making, like, if somebody's passed away, for example, and you're going over to their house to, give your condolences, making a spaghetti sauce or, a stew or something that can easily freeze and obviously be eaten that day, but if they have an abundance of food, which tends to happen in those situations, they could put it in the fridge or put it in the freezer and it'll keep for a few days, or if it's in the freezer, it'll keep for a little while. But and if you can't, find the time to make something, or you're not that crafty and you just don't want to go down that road, then a bottle of wine is always um, a decent hostess gift, because it can be regifted if they don't drink often, or if they don't really like the bottle of wine that you brought. But again, a wine bottle holder, perhaps, if they are wine drinkers and they tend to, buy their own wine because they have money. You know what I mean? Because not everybody likes to give those types of things as hostess gifts. So you could get like a wine bottle holder, or some type of knickknack or something like that 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 they would like. Or um, oh man, like I could go on and on and on. So I'm gonna leave those possibilities with you. Essentially, using your imagination and keeping in mind what those people's interests are is probably the best advice I can give. And it doesn't need to be expensive. It could be something from the dollar store if you can't, find the time to make something. Um, the dollar store has great little things that you can give as hostess gifts, or that you could put together to make a hostess gift. So it doesn't have to be expensive. Now, one thing that I find is people don't really think about their etiquette when they tend to go out to people's houses, like being on time, for example, especially if it's a close friend. Most people don't think that it's a big deal, but one thing to always remember is that whenever somebody has you over to their house, they put a lot of time and effort in order to clean and get things ready. And, granted, I mean, they clean their house anyways, but generally speaking, people tend to be a bit more meticulous when guests are coming over. And it is a bit of a stressful process usually to, get all of the groceries ready. It costs quite a bit of money usually also to have people over, especially if you're going to be drinking and it's not BYOB. So always keep these things in mind, because I find a lot of people, especially just from having people over at my house quite a bit, people tend to forget about the fact that you're spending money to have them over and to feed them. And I know for myself, I don't make very much money, and I like people to appreciate the fact that I'm having them over, and to say thank you, and to acknowledge, that they've had a nice meal. And not that I'm asking any of you to send thank you cards and stuff like that, although that is a great idea. But, even a little text message the following day just to say, thank you very much for having me over. Had a really great time. It was nice to see all of you, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. I mean, it's just a great way to acknowledge all of their hard work, and it doesn't take very much. It takes less than a minute to do something like that, but it makes a lifetime of difference, and it could make or break a friendship sometimes. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. And also, when you're at their home, don't make people uncomfortable. That's one thing I tend to find in my family, is that every time there's a gathering, I feel very uncomfortable and tense, because um, there's a lot of judgment that's going on, and there's a lot of opinions in the room. And if everyone's very opinionated and they're always wanting to state their opinion, or stick their nose in things that maybe they shouldn't be sticking their nose in because they're family, and they feel it's their right, or whatever the case is, sometimes it's just better to just sit and have a pleasant conversation about things that are going on in the world, than to sit there and feel like you have to walk on eggshells and be somebody that you're not, because that's not an enjoyable experience. It's not enjoyable for you or the people around you, and it's, to me, in all honesty, it just seems pointless. So I think that's another really great tip that I'm going to leave with you guys, is that if you don't feel comfortable, or you don't really enjoy the company of the people that you're going to see, or if you've been invited somewhere and you know that you're probably not going to have the greatest time because you will be uncomfortable, then find a very polite way of saying no. Because you have the right to say no. You don't need to go over to these people's house, or this person's house. And if it's going to end up causing more harm than good, either to yourself or to the relationship, then just, say that you're busy, or, sorry, but I've already got other plans, and, you know, find some kind of reason to give them as to why you won't be able to make it. But don't feel obligated to go somewhere, because it's not cool. So anyhow, I think what I'm going to do for you guys is, if you ever have any, crunches or whatever, you can't think of a hostess gift and you're going somewhere, drop a comment or send me a message. You'll have to do it down below in the comments section because I don't really think there's a way to. Actually, yeah, you can message me through YouTube. So you can message me or put a comment below, and I will come up with a fantastical hostess gift idea for you. I'll even tell you how to make it. So yeah, you can always go online, I'm sure, and put in DIY hostess gifts, and I'm sure you'll be able to find tons and tons of stuff because there are so many cool do-it-yourself crafts and ideas out there for hostess gifts or just gifts, period. So you could have so much fun, and that way you just feel that much better when you're going over to that person's house and you have something to give them as a thank you when you walk into their home, because they're letting you into their house, and that's their personal private space, and not everyone is privileged enough to be invited over to someone's home. So keep all that stuff in mind, and know that means that you're special. So that's it for me today, guys. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful Thursday, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the review schmooze. So have a great day. Bye bye.